If you were Marcosatsu's inner demon, what would you say?
Guys, should I get a hot dog or a burger from the gas station today?
Sure, this is Legacy of Revice.
5-0.
50 years. It's been 50 years of Kamen Rider. Starting in 1971, there was a hero fighting evil, despite being born from evil. However, not every writer would continue this, and there would even be writers who themselves fight heroes. The story of the Lonely Rider would evolve from the Showa era, earning the greatness of its legacy, no matter what happens in the real world. There have been several instances of real tragedies that affected these shows, but despite the sad times, there is one thing that rose above it: hope. The story writers, production teams, and every staff member would agree to create shows that instill these stories of hope to the people who watch them. The Reiwa era began with tragedy during the filming of Kamen Rider 01. And while it had some troubled production, it trudged through and gave us a fantastic show. Kamen Rider Saber, having to film through the pandemic, would give other elements to stand alongside hope, those being justice. There would be heroes to root for and a group of friends to create a found family. Several ideas from the production of Kamen Rider Saber would be carried towards the next season, while dropping certain elements. The core hope is there, this time dropping the sense of justice, but focusing more on family. This next show, Kamen Rider 2021, would have the world rise together through the dark times, so it would be called Kamen Rider Revive. The chief producer of Kamen Rider Revive was Taku Mochizuki. He was previously a sub-producer for Kamen Rider Gaim and Kamen Rider Drive, as well as the Botsu Sentai Zyuohger and Uchu Sentai Kyuranger. His chief producer credits include Mashin Sentai Kiramager and the Kamen Rider for 2021. These are all incredible credits to have, and very relevant.
There's no end in sight to the fight against the coronavirus. And now, Kamen Rider begins amid the most difficult circumstances.
Producer Taku Mochizuki. Producer Mochizuki and everyone involved were working hard to get through the tough times and still continued to deliver hope to, well, not just children, but families. The initial concept of Kamen Rider Saber being a show about traveling was brought up again for Revive, but with the world the way it was, it would be difficult to film within the city and other popular locations. So instead, Revive would be more comfortable for families together.
I struggled to decide what to portray with this new Kamen Rider, but this situation actually made the role of the hero more clear. Now, especially now, I want to create something that children can enjoy. If Kamen Rider Revice can bring back even a little bit of fun for children who have been deprived of even such ordinary happiness, then that is the meaning of its existence.
Let's rewind on Revive. There were a ton of ideas thrown around on how the show could play out. One idea being about that traveling rider, and since they wanted to film in a lot of locations, there were 3 main sets instead. Another idea was about 3 unrelated boys working at a theme park on an artificial island, with the main inspiration behind this pitch being Westworld. Just like the previous idea, the scope wouldn't be feasible with a pandemic going on, so the core element of family came back. Instead of a theme park, what about a bathhouse? Instead of 3 unrelated boys, what about 3 siblings? What if this bathhouse was run by a family?
Whether you're spending more time with your family, or conversely seeing family in a different light than before, I wanted you to realize its importance. That's why I chose that theme.
Now there just needs to be one more element to the story of family, as there's always 2 sides of the same coin. That element would come easy, since we just have to look back at the original Kamen Rider, a hero who fights evil while using the power from that evil. What's more evil than yourself? Look deep within yourself, and you may find an inner demon. It's only natural. and that's what stuck for Revive. Producer Mochizuki said in an interview with Cinema Today that a Kamen Rider who makes a deal with the devil could give kids the ability to determine for themselves what is right and wrong. What an incredible idea! Everything was starting to come together.
In this age of patience, it's easy to hear the whispers of unexpected demons and fall into depravity. I want people to become aware of the demons lurking within, digest them, and adjust.
But something feels missing. Yes, hello, it's the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider? Kind of a big deal. So, there actually is an answer to this. In the same Cinema Today interview, producer Mochizuki said that Kamen Rider Decade and Kamen Rider Zio exist within a big scope, so he wanted to move away from that and use Legend Riders strictly for designs. It's a respectable decision, and it's very understandable. But for the 50th anniversary? If it was for like a 49th or 30th anniversary, sure, but 50? Half a century? This is a bit of a sign of things to come for the show, huh? Let's move back to late May 2021. The trademark for Kamen Rider Revice is made public. Hold on, Revice? Surely there's a reason to skip over the Revive name. Well, we didn't have to wait long to get leaks, which is something I wanted to address while we're at it. The Rider fandom around the world, not just the English-speaking fandom, are no strangers to fake leaks. Slight PSA here, don't immediately trust leaks or scoopers. I know I shouldn't have to say that, but poor guy here fell in love with fake Revice. Although, we didn't have to wait a full month to see our first real leak. June 2021. The poster for Superhero Senki is released, with a bit of a surprise. What is that at the top? That's Kamen Rider Revice. And even better, we'll be seeing Revice properly in the final episode of Kamen Rider Saber. Needless to say, it was a terrible first impression. This comment has the right idea. But it wasn't all bad. For one, we have a brand new motif here. We have a main rider based on a dinosaur. For two, these two characters are both Kamen Rider Revice, or rather, Iki Igarashi is Kamen Rider Revi, and his inner demon Vice is Kamen Rider Vice. It's a very interesting take. And for three, it's the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider. It's something worth celebrating. So, let's dive right into Kamen Rider Revice.
The Deadmans Arc.
South America, 1971. Archaeologists find a stamp that allows someone to form a contract with a demon. In an underwater rave led by the Deadmans, contracts are formed. To combat them, an organization named Phoenix creates the Revice driver, courtesy of Kamen Rider fan Marcosatsu. George Karizaki. Their candidate for the driver is Daiji Igarashi. We're then introduced to a bathhouse run by the Igarashi family. Our protagonist, Iki Igarashi, starts to see a demon. At Daiji's ceremony, the Deadmans attack. One of the Phoenix members, Hiromi Karota, attempts to use a Revice driver, saying he'll lay down his life, but the driver rejects him. Daiji then tries to use it, but is too scared. At this point, Iki's demon wants out to join in the chaos and convinces Iki to make a contract with him. Iki agrees, and Vice is released. So, with the Revice driver, the two transform. After their fight with the Mooks, George says it's the duty of Kamen Riders Revi and Vice to fight the Deadmans, though Iki would rather protect his family's bathhouse. Hiromi gets demoted from commander to squad leader after his failure of stopping the Deadmans the other day. Then we see Commander Wakabayashi instruct Daiji to give the Revice driver to Iki. He's very reluctant to sign a contract for Phoenix, but about halfway through the episode, the family visits their mom in the hospital. She's understanding of Ikki's feelings when she says, "Anyone can protect the bathhouse, but only you can protect the world." During another attack, Vice begs to be let out, so Ikki makes him promise to stop eating people. Their worded contract is complete, and Ikki agrees to fight against the Deadmans. Huh, this episode felt like a two-parter in one episode. I hope that's not a bad omen. Okay, so in episode 3, we learn a little more that the Deadmans are looking for a sacrifice in order to revive Gif, a weird stone thing that Aguilera fawns over. Oh, I forgot to mention the Deadmans. So the 3 commanders are Aguilera, Julio, and Orteca. Meanwhile, Ikki is getting evicted. But there's no time for that now, as the Deadman mooks start attacking, right as Ikki sees an old crush? ? Daiji runs back to Phoenix to ask George for more Vice stamps, although a red driver catches his attention. During their fight against the Deadmans, Vice wonders why Ikki keeps fighting for his sister, Sakura, to which Ikki says that he'll do anything for his family. But funnily enough, Sakura is able to help herself from her hostage situation. Wow, that's actually pretty cool. The day is saved when Daiji flashes back to the red driver.
What?
George scoffs at Daiji since Daiji was too scared to use their Revice driver previously and now wants to use something stronger. Episode 4. Daiji keeps pushing Ikki to sign a contract for Phoenix and join them, but Ikki wants to focus purely on their family and the bathhouse. Meanwhile at Phoenix, George shows off his CSM belts, SH figure arts, and other writer merch. It's even funnier that some of those figures weren't even released at the time. He's planning stuff, don't worry about it. Despite being pretty episodic so far, we do get some really cool continuity and twists in this episode. Ikki goes with Sakura to her friend's sister's idol performance as her bodyguard. Her friend was the one that was taken hostage in the previous episode when she gets upset that her own mom isn't paying attention to her, so she's revealed to be a Deadman. I hope that explanation wasn't too long-winded. Ikki isn't able to save Sakura's friend and sees a terrible aftermath. Daiji acts upstanding, pushing Ikki to transform for more than just his family, and Ikki responds saying that Daiji should have transformed instead. Ikki talks to Mama Igarashi, who says that Daiji is scared of hurting others, and that Ikki should be more empathetic. In a very good, quieter scene, Vice pushes Ikki in an empathetic way to do what he wants. It's a bit more nuanced and subtle in how this short scene plays out, but that's all I'll mention for now. The next day, Ikki takes on the Deadman once again, and during a rescue, he uses a new gift from Daiji. With his newfound resolve, Ikki says, one extremely cool action scene later. Cass, can you put some cool clips here? And Ikki saves the day. He finally signs that Phoenix contract and officially accepts being Conrider Revice. This is also how Ikki avoids being evicted. Although, we then see a picture of Ikki and Daiji on the table, when Ikki starts to disappear. Episode 5 starts with Hiromi upset about his promotion. And more important news, hell yeah. The Phoenix crew discuss among themselves about how certain tools are disappearing, suggesting that they have a traitor among the people here. So George practices breaking the culprit's neck. Same. Also same. So Phoenix and Ikki devise a plan to use the Civilian of the Week to lure out the traitor. There's way more details to this episode that make it another great one, but as always, I don't give quite everything away. But hey, they used George's new Vice stamp here. I try to sound really excited for that, I'll explain later. During their fight against the Deadmans, a new rider appears out of nowhere. George and other Phoenix members are knocked out, as this Black Rider steps in. Iki fights this evil rider within the shadows. He refuses to elaborate, then leaves. Hiromi wakes up and remembers the Black Rider knocking out the Phoenix members, and we catch a glimpse of the rider untransforming. It's Daiji, given the evil driver by George. Sometime later, Sakura makes some really spicy curry, but Daiji seems to enjoy it. Dang, now I want curry.
Nice fight!
Yeah, that's about all I can say for this episode. It's about Iki and friends solving a lawyer's problem. It's fine. Oh, but there's an interesting step in the Deadman's plan, as Julio starts to infiltrate Sakura's karate classes. This will surely go somewhere, as well as a proper introduction to Kamen Rider Evil, Daiji's inner demon, Kagero. A cat monster attacks, and George rides a skateboard, which means George has a new Jack Vice stamp for them. Why does Vice look like a caveman? Is George saying all gamers are cavemen?
Shut up!
Hey, is that Tekken again? When are they gonna get Soul Calibur representation? Well, anyway, stuff happens in this episode. Yeah, stuff. You know, stuff. Iki asks Commander Wakabayashi if he knows about the Black Kamen Rider. That's about it. It's stuff. Daiji does have some neat scenes though, like where he wakes up questioning himself wearing all black. Then at night, he meets his inner demon, Kagero. Another important thing happens about halfway, when George decides to give Hiromi a special driver just for him. While out fighting a dead man, Revice encounters Evil again, but Hiromi steps in with the demon's driver.
Deadmans
Hey wait, where'd that little spider thing hold its string from? Revice uses the jackal stamp too. Okay, a rider with a skateboard is legit a great idea. I just wish they were actually writing it instead of using CGI, but hey, I get it. It's probably going to be super hard to actually do it practically. So yeah, stuff happened this episode. Wasn't that good stuff? Oh, did you think I was being sarcastic? No, this is a great episode. Lots of stuff happened. Okay, Cass, I see on my script, I didn't write the family's name, so watch me in real time having to look up the name of the family. Gosh, I don't even remember one of the people's names. Gosh, who was over demons again? Dang, now to look up cast. Hikaru. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that was me having to look up something in real time because I did not remember what the heck the other family's name. Anyway, episode 8. The Igarashi family go on vacation. There, they also meet the... I literally just looked this up. How did I already forget? There, they also meet the Ushijima family. God help me. Their son Hikaru has karate classes with Sakura. I didn't bring it up, but it happened earlier. The Deadmans are here too. And I didn't even realize it until they have a flashback later. Guess their disguises work better than I thought. Hiromi and George are here too. Turns out the other family is maybe evil, because they're listening to the Igarashi's conversations. Meanwhile, the Deadmans are clashing with Kagero, when they each want to do their own thing. Remember that the family is here for a vacation, but mostly to celebrate their mom's recovery. The Igarashi family congratulate her, and then, it's time. Daiji punches Iki, and we get the full Kamen Rider Evil henshin. Now it's an all-out fight with Revice, Evil, Demons, and the Deadmans. Sakura even gets a few punches in against Aguilera. Evil officially introduces himself to Iki as Daiji's inner demon named Kagero. God, I love George. After the battle, Mama Igarashi tells Iki to save Daiji. I only bring it up because it was a genuinely heartfelt moment. The Igarashi family are sad to see Daiji act out like that, when Vice chimes in saying that Daiji's always had a demon within him, and they shouldn't give up. Meanwhile, Kagero beats up Tsubasa from Maji Ranger. LOL. Phoenix tells Ikki to defeat evil before the public finds out it's Daiji. Then Daiji is seen on a broadcast. Speaking of broadcast, Vice tells you, the viewer, to tweet out #NiceVice. And I did. After the battle, George doubles down on defeating Daiji, but Sakura storms in, saying it's wrong for Phoenix to just throw away Daiji, and Ikki not doing anything to stop them. Kagero continues to be a jerk, and Daiji calls out to him. Kagero teases him for secretly hating Ikki, which Daiji would never admit. This parallels a conversation with Vice, asking if Daiji even wants to be saved. Though, as good siblings as they are, Ikki and Sakura believe in their brother. The Igarashi parents think back to a time where Daiji got lost playing hide-and-seek, but he stayed put, and was eventually rescued by his family. Ikki confronts Kagero, who says he's gotten rid of Daiji, and that Ikki was the reason Kagero exists in the first place. Kagero blames Ikki for being the center of attention, especially when he became a Kamen Rider in the first place when Daiji couldn't. Meanwhile, Hiromi goes Mo mode. Kagero goads Ikki into finishing him off, and then they take a 2-week break. Thanks, Vice. Ikki attempts to kick Kagero, but Kagero pretends to be Daiji, a cowardly move, forcing Hiromi to escape with Ikki. The two are sullen, though Hiromi is secretly bawling like a baby. Sakura scolds Hiromi for allowing Ikki and even Daiji to be a part of this, and in a wonderful exchange, Vice tries to comfort Ikki's physical pain, but Ikki says that's not where it hurts. Sakura steps out, and Aguilera teases her to join the Deadmans, telling her about true strength. I know it's not much in the moment, but this is adding to Sakura's inner conflicts about her brothers. Speaking of which, Vice tells Ikki a little secret. Vice looked into Kagero's mind while they were fighting, and noticed that Daiji hasn't given up. It's not much of a secret since Ikki already knew his brother was strong. Ikki and Kagero have another fight, while Vice and Hiromi fight some Deadmans, during which Ikki brings up when Daiji was lost in the hide-and-seek game all those years ago. Daiji wasn't really lost. He was stuck and needed a way out when Ikki found him. With that, Daiji awakens from within Kagero, giving Ikki the chance to use a Gio tribute suit and rescue Daiji. I bring up the suit because it's better than Gio's own tribute suits. Unfortunately, the reunion is cut short, as a dead man still needs to be taken care of, so Daiji transforms from the darkness into the light.
Him! Kamen Rider Live!
The evil is defeated, as Sakura ponders what Aguilera meant by having true strength. The Igarashi family is back together, or are they? As once again, Vice sees Ikki disappear from a picture frame. The crimes involving Deadmans have been increasing due to a man broadcasting that the Deadman's powers can be used for anyone. Meanwhile, Sakura keeps thinking back to Aguilera's words, and has been spacing out a lot in class. Though Papa Igarashi says a big present here is for Sakura, she opens it alone, and inside is a driver. During a fight with the Deadmans, Sakura runs into Aguilera. Aguilera understands that Sakura always wanted to save people, and joining the Deadmans might give her the power she needs. Paralleling this lesson, Sakura's karate instructor assistant's son needs surgery, so the instructor took a vice stamp for power, and she almost succeeded in stealing money, but didn't feel it was right to accept the Deadman's contract. Oh boy, I hope I summarized that clearly enough. I try not to say proper names unless they're a continuous part of the story, so yeah, I know that was probably a bit to get together. Anyway, Sakura notices all of this, and feels like she needs herself to become stronger, especially when Ikki, Daiji, and Phoenix, and even their mom, aren't exactly interested in helping her. The Deadmans attack again, so after some thinking, Sakura decides to stop the monster herself.
さくらちゃんやるん私が聖子さんを止める変身変身
Sakura fails to transform, and Iki takes a hit from the Deadman's attack. George is beyond upset about a driver he doesn't know about. After the battle, Daiji gets into an argument with Sakura about getting herself into something she doesn't know about. George says it was a driver he trashed, so he wonders how the Karate Girl's sister has it. Speaking of the Karate Girl, Aguilera continues to ask her to join the Deadmans, saying that Aguilera has been part of them since she was young, and has always been happy. Sakura doesn't see the happiness from Aguilera, but as Aguilera says, happiness comes in all forms. Meanwhile, Hiromi trauma dumps about being bullied since he was a child. In a huge contrasting scene, Iki has a heartfelt moment with Sakura, knowing she's always said she wanted to be strong. But that's the thing, she's always said it. But Iki reminds her that she can't just look strong, she has to be strong. Sakura continues to try to transform, but finally admits that she's not as tough as she appears. She breaks down crying, then a shadow appears to confront her. During a fight with the Deadmans, Sakura arrives, admitting to being weak, but she'll be unbeatable now that she understands her weakness. As Kamen Rider John, Sakura asks her brothers to take care of her inner demon. And so, the Deadmans is defeated, and the Igarashi siblings agree to work together. Daiji even apologizes, and Vice decides to call Sakura's demon Lovekov, cause that's all the demon can say. Episode 13. The Igarashi siblings are told to help fight, while some of Phoenix is away for budget reasons. Hiromi also steps back for budget reasons. Yeah. And George tries to create something, but isn't 100% yet, for budget reasons. Okay, so this episode is pretty chaotic. Lots of fighting, Kagero's release, and at the climax, Vice begs to be let out of Iki. Since they're surrounded by monsters, it feels like a desperate move. Iki thinks back to what his father said. It's easy to worry about them, but it takes more than courage. Vice and Iki have been through quite a bit, so Iki agrees to keep his promise from episode 1, and lets Vice free. And right on time, George arrives with a new power-up. The best part is that Vice doesn't have a new form technically because Vice called George's forms lame. Sakura is given a new power-up too. Despite all the battles being won, George then mentions there's a traitor among the group, but he already has a hunch of who it could be. It's Commander Wakabashi. Of course it is. The commander gets lured into an Ichigo trap, and Hiromi is not happy seeing his hero being a traitor. A whole lot of fighting in our A and B plots later, the commander says Hiromi has always been a very honest man, as the commander grabs hold of Hiromi. In a flashback, we see the chameleon Deadmans take over his appearance in episode 1. Meanwhile, the Deadmans are accepted by GIF, and now they only need one more to complete their plan. Although, Orteca gives Aguilera the bad news. She's the real sacrifice. Back with the Igarashi siblings, they try to get Kagero out to ask him where the Deadman's base is. Oh, by the way, it's Christmas. What an odd detail. Anyway, Kagero says he'll tell them where the entrance is if he eats more of Sakura's curry. And so, the sacrifice ceremony begins when the Igarashi siblings and Phoenix arrive to the base entrance. During the fighting, George takes a really close look at GIF. A really close look. Although Iki and Vice rescue Aguilera and Julio, Iki fights the base thing, I guess, and the day is saved. 16. Aguilera begins to cry, but Orteca doesn't care, only seeing her as a puppet. Julio's had enough of Orteca and tries to fight him, saying Aguilera saved Julio at his lowest point in life. Aguilera's also had enough, and uses Queen Bee vice stamps to fight the riders. The chaos dies down, as Phoenix takes ownership of finding Gif. The chameleon Deadmans is also killed here. Yippee. Hiromu is promoted to commander, and promises to find the last 3 remaining Deadmans, but is feeling a little worn out. As Hiromu leaves, George gets an x-ray of Papa, or I should say, Genta Igarashi, who has no heart. Thus ends the Deadmans Arc. I won't be giving an in-depth review until I finish recapping the whole story, but I did want to say a little bit here. Revice so far seems like an answer to Kamen Rider Saber. A smaller cast, a smaller scope, and its first quarter is actually good. Yeah, these first 16 episodes are incredible. I immediately fell in love with the characters, and the mysteries are just so interesting. Even the side characters are amazing, and hold on, aren't I just repeating what I said during Kamen Rider 01? I've said to my group chat that 01's first quarter is some of the best in the franchise to me. A combination of thought-provoking episodes plus great characters make for an amazing experience. That's a bit of a deja vu. I love 01's first quarter, hated Sabers, and now I like Revices. What stands out here? I think I can put it this way. To me, Aruto and Iki start out similarly. Characters thrust into worlds they knew nothing about, but where Aruto was accepting of his role, Iki had to be convinced to do this quote-unquote Kamen Rider thing. Side characters in 01 were proactive within the arcs being told, often being the main focus and drive for our protagonists. In Revice, they're more reactive. Side characters can start a narrative, but an arc will ultimately be about our main cast. As for our villains, 01 and Revice align pretty closely, just with different motives for each week. It's not just in how the story is being told, it's why a story is told in the first place. 01 with AI, Revice with family, and a little bit more. Yes, there was more to talk about, as the other side of the same coin is within yourself. The family struggles manifesting as literal inner demons is great storytelling. It's something that had to be said during a tragic time. It's okay to have doubts. It's okay to not fully believe in yourself. It's okay to be sad. You'll get stronger each day. Just have a little bit of hope. It's a message that was very important and is still important today. 01 warns you about the dangers of AI, but Revice is more personal, as you have to learn to be okay with yourself. Just that theme alone is why I love Revice's opening quarter. The message it tells is great, and its own story is even greater. With how passionate I sounded here, let's just say, I hope it gets better. Okay, so normally these crossover movies are released around the episode 12 mark, or at least take place around then. However, it would be a little awkward to move back and forth in between the arcs, as I've done so before. So let's get this party on the road with a big event to celebrate half of a century of Kamen Rider.
Beyond generations.
The year is 2071. Few humans remain as demons have taken over. A man is on the run when an old George Katazaki ushers him to safety. The man, Ryunosuke Momose, is told to use a psychotron driver to travel back 50 years in the past to change the future. Meanwhile, the Deadman trio find brand new toys to summon Lord Diablo. This is Kamen Rider Beyond Generations. Despite that interesting intro, this is in fact a crossover with Kamen Rider Saber. So now, the Saber cast has to take up arms once again and fight alongside Revice to stop Lord Diablo. But alongside that story is Ryunosuke. He finds his grown-up son, Hideo, and they combine to transform into Kamen Rider Century. As the tagline says, this is a timeless, once-in-a-century transformation. Even if the main show has little, if anything, to do with the anniversary aspect of Kamen Rider, we have Beyond Generations, which is meant to be the true celebration. And you know what? This does feel like a pretty neat celebration of the past, ironically when its main plot is about the future. But I think that's just interesting writing. You can see what I mean here, since in the Ryunosuke plot, his son Hideo is upset that Ryunosuke left the family to work for Shocker. This leads to a flashback to the year 1971, which means it's about the first Kamen Rider, Takeshi Hongo. The director for this movie, Takayuki Shibasaki, said he wanted this flashback to be as faithful as possible, so who better to take on Hiroshi Fujioka's legendary role than his own son, Maito Fujioka. This entire sequence is one of my favorite scenes in Kamen Rider. It really is a faithful recreation of the original sets, using old photos to make it, while giving us a beautiful fight with these modern-day effects in the style of the Showa era. Paralleling the faithful Showa theme is Kamen Rider Century and the future motif. In fact, Century was designed to be Ichigo 100 years from now, and that's an exact quote too. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the suit, I still like it, and I love its story even more. It connects back to the family theme, as Ryunosuke and Hideo have to forgive and accept what happened in the past and future, not ignoring the wrongdoings, but accepting and creating a better timeline. It's not 100% the celebration you'd expect, but it's still a fantastic story for old and new fans of Kamen Rider, giving us those elements of why we enjoy the show in the first place. This Kamen Rider Century movie is beautiful. Oh, wait. This is a Kamen Rider Saber and Revice crossover too. Huh. Well, yeah, it sure is. I can confirm that the entire main Saber cast is indeed here along with the main Revice cast. There comes an expectation with words. After 50 years, there comes an expectation with big projects from big companies. And I think that's my biggest issue. It's the expectations. So I think my disappointment with the rest of the movie should be understandable. You want to make a celebration for Kamen Rider? Go for it. You want to make a crossover movie with the past two series? Go for it. But please separate these two ideas. It is immensely disappointing that our two main casts are mostly pushed aside for a separate story. But I can't deny that I do enjoy the scenes we get with everyone. Team Saber and Team Revice mix and match for a bit, fighting off Diablo's forces in different time points. While Iki, and Iki alone without Vice, thank God, help Ryunosuke and Hideo. Aside from being the main writer, Iki was chosen for the main story to give him more characterization. It makes sense in a lot of very obvious ways, though he does contribute a lot to their story as well. Then, in the future, George puts riders in stasis to allow our teams to transform into them. And yeah, I admit this is pretty awesome. Made even better with the fact that the actors had to actually wear the suits to get those helmetless shots. Did I just say George put the riders in stasis? Are those riders still alive? According to an interview, yes they are. And I won't question it further. I know I said I was disappointed with how little Saber x Revice we got, but when they were together, man, those were incredible scenes. This clip of all our riders walking together is a top 10 visual. In fact, I'd say a lot of the movie is gorgeous to look at. I've made this joke before. I'm not sure what kind of Vaseline Toei puts on their cameras, but it even makes the dark locations look pretty cool. The 1971 flashback, the opening fight, the Century transformation, that final rider kick. Even just Iki standing around with Ryunosuke and Hideo looks really good. But the green screen for the Saber base does look pretty awful. Yeah. Meow. Plus, the movie ends with as much interaction between the cast as possible. With how many characters there are, each character at least gets a good one-liner or two. I especially like Yuri coming out of nowhere to annoy George. I guess to finish this off, I really wish we got a true Saber x Revice crossover with a story focusing fully on them, but this is what we got, and while it's lopsided, again, I can't deny that its Century side is incredible. Hey wait, I think I said something similar about that in the 01 video about Reiwa, the first generation. Huh. I keep going back to 01 for some reason. Well, anyway, I really did enjoy Beyond Generations. I miss Saber.
Hyper Battle Video 1.
Coming off a fantastic movie, we go into more of Revice's side content. There's surprisingly a lot of it, not just for anniversary reasons either. Most of this is strictly for Revice's story and other Revice obligations. Well, we started off strong with Beyond Generations. What do we have next? Are you serious? This is the Revice Hyper Battle video, Koala versus Kangaroo. Really doing this, huh? Okay, so a few days ago, George shows Vice new forms, ones that specifically make his form a little different for sure. The main conflict is a dead man's ruining a wedding. Daiji is here too. Meanwhile, Sakura thinks of how her wedding would be like, with Hiromi, George, and Vice? So we go back to Iki getting married to Daiji? It's not weird because they're men, it's weird because they're brothers? Iki says this was the only way because he doesn't want to see Sakura in a wedding dress. The dead man's appears and Iki and Daiji accidentally kiss. Revice fights the dead man's, and to do so they use the kangaroo vice stamp, whatever. Then the day is saved. Aren't Lovekov and Vice technically siblings? Oh, brother. As you can tell by my voice, yeah, this is definitely one of the worst specials to come out of Kamen Rider. And I'm even counting Furbus's First Christmas. The whole incest aside, yeah, what a crazy statement. The rest is also really, really bad. Horrible writing, terrible filming. Even Revice defenders say this is awful. The only redeeming quality is Plush Vice, and that's nowhere near enough to save, everything. This was horrible. I know I've gotten some comments before saying like, oh, I wish Marcosatsu was more negative like before. Well, here you go. This Hyper Battle video was outright awful.
The mystery.
We begin with Hiromi dying. Turning the clock back a bit, we see Revice and Hiromi fighting a dead man's. It de-transforms and runs off into the shadows. Iki and Hiromi come across a lounge filled with suspicious cameos, such as Genpachi from Kamen Rider Drive? Like, it's the actual characters too, not their actors as different cast members. That's really cool. After a certain death in the cast, George decides to call for help in the city of Futo. A cop named Teruri Ryu. This is Kamen Rider Revice, The Mystery. As you can probably guess, this is supposed to be a mystery surrounding Kamen Rider cameos and themes. That's a direct quote too. Remember in the Beyond Generations part when I said to please separate the two ideas of writer anniversary and new story? Well, this does that again. Meanwhile in Zawami City, cameos! Okay, it's a super endearing seeing George fanboy over other writers and explaining to the viewer what he's talking about. Hey! But again, on the original story side, it's a little messy. But I think that's what you'd expect when you go into a mystery. You know it's going to take a bit of time to set up characters, plot points, and the actual mystery itself. And as a mystery story, it's fine. I'm not going to go that into detail with the story, because I'd actually recommend watching this for yourself. So while the culprit and backstory are set up well enough, I just don't think it's all that interesting. Again, no spoilers, though the culprit probably won't surprise you, and you might really like their reason for the murder. I certainly did. I've just seen it before, multiple times, and done slightly better. On top of that, I don't think this miniseries needed to exist. Oh right, it's a miniseries. 5 episodes long, 20 minutes each, plus alternate viewpoints of other characters within the same scenes, and that's pretty cool. Though that's quite a bit of time dedicated to something I'm calling just okay. It's why I'm so conflicted. The story itself is fine, but Man, George begins the research.
ふざけてないで早く調べろ。One more chance.
That just like tickles something in my brain. And then Vice starts each episode as another reference to Kamen Rider. Like here, he's Tassel from Kamen Rider Saber. And the best part is that the writer references are major plot points. Like, they actually add a lot to the story since the writer data is being used in a lab for certain reasons, and a lot more, especially for the characters. If the core of the mystery is fine, then the Kamen Rider themes are what carry it immensely for me. I wouldn't say this is like the celebration I was waiting for, but it's damn good. Overall, if you want to point at the screens at references and still have an okay to fun mystery, then Revice the Mystery is worth your time. Oh wait, what's George doing there at the end?
The Weekend Arc.
We begin the Weekend Arc with George seductively touching GIF. I'm contemplating my life a little bit right now. When Phoenix director Akaishi Hideo arrives. Meanwhile, Aguilera and Julio, chill outside? Are they homeless now? Plus Sakura is in the basement. She'd prefer not to remember what was down there. A man asks if Sakura can help find his friend, Tamaki Go, known to us as Julio. The man who asked, named Yosuke, for help says he was friends with Tamaki in school, and were made fun of for being nerds. Yosuke says he betrayed Tamaki by ripping a super rare card in front of the other kids, then Tamaki ran away. Sakura relays the story to Iki and Daiji, which makes Iki want to try even harder to revert the Deadmans back to humans. A demon is made from Orteca's brand new cult. Don't worry, it doesn't go anywhere, and the writers go out to fight. Iki arrives with George's new stamp. With the power of Iki's fire and Vice's ice, they become Revive Volcano Rex. Then Iki becomes hospitalized. Julio then asks Sakura for a favor, to rescue Aguilera. Sakura agrees, but only if Julio meets with Yosuke. Julio does and lets his feelings out. Julio admits he himself was a traitor, seeing that Yosuke really was on his way to say bye, but was stopped by bullies. Orteca grabs Yosuke and turns him into a demon, a Giftarian. These kinds of demons are born from the gift stamp, meaning the human born from them are effectively dead the moment they're stamped. An enraged Julio says to stop calling him Julio, and instead call him Tamaki. Paralleling the emotional struggles is Iki, saying how he's been a fool to himself, always wanting to help others with no conscience of himself, even willing to put Vice in danger. Iki doesn't care about himself. Vice says that isn't true, because Iki cares about Vice, and Vice is a part of him. As Julio goes on a rampage, Iki releases Vice so they could get the Volcano Vice stamp from George. An attack is thrown at Julio, but Aguilera rescues him. At the end, Hiromi is told the results of his checkup. His entire body has aged to an 80-year-old. 19. After seeing some cameos from Lupin Yellow and Ultraman Victory, we have Julio, now Tamaki, wanting Sakura to go on a date with Aguilera, who is a bit lost now that GIF is gone. Some shenanigans and fighting later, Hiromi overhears a demon's driver telling him to transform. In episode 20, we're told Orteca was a big nerd and now wants to rule the world. Okay, so things do happen in these two episodes, and they're interesting in a bubble, but since I focus on the main story, I just kinda skim sometimes, you know? And while we're at it, I know I joked earlier saying that the cult thing doesn't go anywhere, but some cult members are used as the Giftarians, so I guess that's the extent of that. Yippee. At the end of episode 20, Vice takes off his mask? It's a mask? Hiromi tells Iki and Daichi to meet up with him, revealing that there's a demon inside the demon's driver. 21. Meanwhile with Sakura, she's invited to the Ushijima family home, where she saw the green basement. Oh, have I never mentioned their names before? Hey, post-editing Satsu here. I make the exact same joke I did earlier about not knowing the Ushijima family name. It's a pretty long joke too. That's awkward. Who are they? Sakura enters the basement and is introduced to Weekend.
Weekend. 全然平日なんですけど。
The Uchijimas explained they were the ones to send the Liberator driver to her, and they also have the suspicions towards Phoenix. A whole lot of fighting later. Orteca steals a demon's driver and transforms. Then Hiromi dies. Yeah, I know, this should be a very dramatic moment, but like, what are we doing here? Like, actually, what are we doing? Did you know Hiromi was consistently voted as number 1 in Revice popularity polls? Killing off a fan-favorite character doesn't automatically make for high stakes or good writing. In fact, it might just piss off a lot of your fan base. So that's why I'm asking, what are we doing here? Hiromi gets blasted off a cliff. Moving on, Daiji feels very emotional following Hiromi's supposed death, and Kagero is there to mock him, along with me. More importantly, Iki gets a brand new stamp. Wowie zowie, time to use it. Close enough. Welcome back, Build Hazard. It appears that George has no idea where it came from, and strangely enough, Vice is in control with no Iki to be heard. Vice de-transforms, and Iki is still missing. 23. It turns out that Iki himself is a demon now.
No, goddamn!
With his newfound freedom, Vice just goofs around. Sometime later, Vice asks the siblings to meet up, explaining he did want a bit of freedom, but is still on Iki's side, as he shows Iki in a phone. Okay, that's kind of funny. Sakura confronts Weekend, having a feeling they're the ones who sent Iki the new rolling Vice stamp. Although now, she meets Weekend's leader, who calls himself Masumi Karizaki. 24. It's been 1 week since Vice and Iki switched places, and it's been awful for everyone. More importantly, George visits the bathhouse and asks Papa Igarashi how he got a scar on his chest, remembering back to how Genta doesn't have a heart. However, Genta just says he fell while he was drunk. George also warns that Iki isn't technically a devil, still having human tendencies like eating, so if he starves to death, then that means bye-bye Vice. Back with Sakura, are you starting to see the problem here? She thinks to her meeting with Karizaki, the leader of Weekend. He explained that he created some Vice stamps. So much time passes later that I got bored enough to forget how much time actually passed in this episode. Sakura and Orteca fight. Iki offers Vice a contract. With the power of friendship, the two transform into Jack Revice. This transformation is genuinely really cool. Then the demon's driver just F's off, I guess. Alright. 25. Back with George, he's confused as to how Vice and Iki got split, so he looks at a book to remember back to his roots. Something clicks within George to look up the history of the bathhouse. Apparently, it burned down at one point. Lovekov cuteness aside, Karizaki ponders his next move, when suddenly, the demon's driver arrives, now with a new color. Karizaki calls the driver Vail. During a battle, Vice, Kagero, and Lovekov start to act up, when also suddenly, Genta steps onto the battlefield. Wow, that was a cool finisher. Iki tries to stop Genta, but memories start flooding in of the bathhouse fire. The siblings stand up to Vail, when Genta takes control back of his body. Iki is ready to explain to his siblings, and George, what happened on the day of the fire. A young Iki saw the bathhouse a wreck, as Genta said this was all payment for betrayal. It was Vail taking over, enraged that Genta tried to erase him. Vice was born on that day, persuading Iki to form a contract, saving his family and erasing his memories. George then reveals what he found. 50 years ago, the gift stamp and coffin were found in South America. Of course, certain people wanted to turn them into a weapon. The demon's driver was made, but in order to use it, the user had to infuse themselves with Gift's DNA. Karizaki was part of these experiments, turning Genta Igarashi into half human, half Gift. The reason why Iki, Sakura, and Daiji can transform and have demons is because they're descendants of Gift. The next episode gives us more exposition. At the bathhouse, the Igarashi parents are nowhere to be found, so one of Genta's friends explains what he knows. Genta's real name was Shiranami Junpei. They were together in the military when Genta was chosen to become Kamen Rider Vail and fight monsters. He was a perfect soldier, until he found the love of his life. They ran off together, Junpei changing his face and name, becoming the Genta we know now. Those experiments were why Masumi Karizaki tried helping the Igarashi family, in order to make up for his sins. Chaos continues as Kagero splits himself off from Daiji to fight, while Aguilera and Sakura have their own fight. Sakura admits that Aguilera is what made her strong. Aguilera is told to find her own path, one that might even be in front of her. Slightly paralleling that is Daiji and Kagero's fight. Kagero admits that Daiji's kindness has become a weakness, not to Daiji, but to Kagero himself. Daiji throws a punch, shattering Kagero's helmet. Kagero can barely punch back, let alone stand. Kagero tries to go for a final attack. At last, a new Vice stamp is ready from George, accepting a sacrifice from one side and granting Daiji a new form. "27. Iki is formally introduced to Weekend, the anti-military group going after Phoenix, whose real motivation wasn't to defeat Deadmans, rather, it was to awaken Gift. Darn, Phoenix is a bad guy? Who would have guessed? Karizaki explains that since Iki and Daiji worked for Phoenix, they scouted Sakura first. Then Karizaki says they're well acquainted with his son, in case the family name Karizaki wasn't a dead giveaway. During a fight with Orteca, one of many I may add, Gift grows in power and causes Vice to act out like before. Vice enters the battle as Jack Revice to fight the siblings. Still, George says he knows now it's not enough to just talk from the sidelines, so he'll henshin.
Daddy, come on!
Come on, man. The battle continues and Aguilera tries to get closer to Gift. When? Then Iki fights his inner self. Although he thinks back to his family and to Vice. With the power of friendship, they transform into Thunder Gale. What an ugly suit.
Hey, 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 hey!
Iki and Vice as one fight Orteca. Then Gift eats Orteca. Oh no, we're not giving this guy any sympathy. You should have gotten the axe arcs ago. Bye Gift. Bye Aguilera. George meets with his father face to face. Papa Karizaki says he's dedicated his life to defeating Gift, and George should be seeing that. George does not want to hear it, and doesn't care if he's going to end up like his dad. Genta writes a message to his family saying he's gone into hiding, but promises to be back home one day, ending the Weekend Arc.
Vail.
25 years ago, Genta Igarashi was experimented on by Ultraman X to become the ultimate soldier through the power of Gift. This is Genta's story, Kamen Rider Vail. Normally I don't like these stories that should have just been in the main show, but wow, I'm kinda glad this wasn't in Kamen Rider Revice, in a good way. There are a few, if any, clips here used in the main show when they were explaining Genta's backstory, which is already a huge plus. It makes me feel like this was planned from the start with a lot of love and care. The drama is great, it works as a standalone story, and it does add quite a lot to Genta as a character. We go through Genta's struggles both as a soldier and with himself falling into Vail's influence. We see how Genta first met Mama Igarashi after Hami from Q-Ranger stayed on Earth. We go through Karizaki's own guild building. We even learn why he's named Genta. Like, it literally could have just been a random name, but there's an actual reason for it. Heck, Genta's friend that only brought up once in the main series gets some genuinely really amazing story here. There was an interview about how this was meant to be targeted to older audiences, so the story was quote-unquote hardcore while paying homage to Ichigo once again. And wow, this is incredible. It's a shame I'm cutting this part so short, but man, I think I can say this is easily one of the best parts of Revice. I love this miniseries. It also got recut as a mini-movie if you prefer, and that's how I like to watch it. Either way, I absolutely recommend watching it, not just as extra content for Revice, but as a really cool Kamen Rider story. Koichi Sakamoto directing this is a huge plus. Oh man, can I consider this one of my favorite writer projects ever? Yeah, I think so. Maybe I'm overhyping it, maybe I'm just tired of Revice proper, but wow, I really loved Revice Legacy, Kamen Rider Vail.
The Igarashi Arc.
The Igarashi siblings arc begins in episode 30. It's time for a class reunion. They sure do love soccer, which explains why Iki dresses like a gym teacher. My friend Laura made that quote, I just had to say it here. Anyway, there's a celebrity among the group, the super famous Kimura Subaruchi, who surely apologized for doing blackface. By the way, Vice's actor Subaru Kimura did blackface. Don't even start by saying that Japan doesn't know better. What a way to start this arc, huh? What is with Hikaru's outfit here? Are those fishnets on his arms? Elsewhere with Aguilera, she burns her old clothes.
Sayonara, Deadmans.
Dang, that must have been really expensive through Premium Bandai. Iki looks upon the family picture, where he himself is gone. Vice says that it's a result of their contract 18 years ago. Iki's memories are fading away. I know we started this arc a little rough, but yeah, that is just a lot. Tamaki finds Sakura because he knows wherever she is, Aguilera will most likely be there too. It's really funny because he's right. Aguilera appears and fights Sakura. After losing their fight, Tamaki says Aguilera doesn't have a home now that the Deadmans are gone. Really, all she has left is beating Sakura as a final shred of dignity. Sakura then asks if Iki could separate Aguilera from her devil. He's a bit reluctant since maybe Aguilera doesn't want that. But it's a better alternative to having Sakura end her for good, when she doesn't want that either. Tamaki goes to talk to Aguilera one more time to get her to listen, but she doesn't care, and immediately turns her attention towards Sakura and Iki. Hikaru is here too. Back at home, Vice goes inside Sakura's mind to see what Lovkov's up to. Oh, already in her rebellious phase. Sakura decides that it's time, and she confronts Aguilera once again. They go to an amusement park. Aguilera is against it at first, but starts to smile and open up. Hikaru interrupts Aguilera and Sakura's date by giving Sakura her fixed Libra driver back. Now they can't run anymore. Aguilera and Sakura have to fight. Sakura prepares to slice through Aguilera when Aguilera admits she loved her. The attack goes through, and Aguilera is separated from her demon. Sakura asks for a favor from the two Karizakis, father and son, to create a power to help her. Aguilera still feels lost. Aguilera, no, Natsuki Hana, is welcomed to Weekend. Okay, so that whole arc with Sakura and Hana has been amazing. Although I've been neglecting a whole thing with Daiji and Director Kaishi, all of which I can sum up with our heroes find out that Director Kaishi is evil. Yippee. His backstory is that Akaishi has been alive for millennia, making a contract with Gift to create a path for human evolution and eventually serve him. Orteca is here too. The climax of this arc begins in episode 35, as Akaishi has an announcement for the city. He says humanity should give up their lives to serve Gift. Daiji interrupts the broadcast to tell the world that they shouldn't listen to the director, so Akaishi used this moment to reveal Gift. The Riders and Phoenix are losing their fight as Gift destroys airships around them. Then out of nowhere, Hikaru arrives and transforms into Overdemons. Yay! I hyped that moment up way more than the show did itself, trust me. He rescues the Igarashis. Minus Daiji, I guess. What just happened? What is going on anymore? Man. Not too soon after that, Phoenix enforces a mandate for the public to be stamped and get rid of their inner demons. Surely this is just a coincidence, right? Not like there was a mandate at the time for the public to be vaccinated or stamped. Revice and Weekend spring into action to fight Vail or whatever. Sakura is nearly defeated by Vail, so Tamaki steps in to transform. Oh, never mind. The driver falls and Hana picks it up. The queen bee who wants to atone for her sins. In episode 37, we see George has been working on a new stamp. Interestingly, he stands over his father's grave, wishing he stayed dead. George then speaks to Katazaki and still scorns him. His father takes off his mask, revealing burn scars that he considers consequences of his sins for working with demons. During a fight with Director Akaishi, one of Daiji's allies is killed off. Daiji is left with anger towards Iki, who thinks Iki should have never been involved. Daiji throws a punch, but is stopped. Hiromi is welcomed with open arms. Even though he can't fight, Hiromi wants to help Daiji. George considers making a new power-up to combat Gift. They were told earlier that Gift can only be defeated by Gift, so their next best chance is someone whose DNA is the strongest from it. Genta records a video, saying his possible goodbyes to his family, because taking the Gift cells from him only has a 50-50 chance of survival. A swarm of Gift mooks appear, and our riders team up. Hikaru's here too. So, with their powers combined, along with a bit of their father, Iki and Vice receive the Gifford Rex Vice stamps. Returning to the main show, Iki talked with Genta about their next moves. When Genta suggests the family go to the hot springs for a vacation again, though Iki doesn't remember going to the hot springs before. Vice questions Iki on several facts about him, but somehow, Iki's memory is deteriorating even faster. Meanwhile, the Ushijima family gets killed off one by one. That's where the gift comes from? Ew, stop doing that. Speeding things along is George, who just so happened to have developed an army of demons troopers led by Hiromi, who's now commander of the Demon Corps. Huh, that's basically everyone's reactions here too. They're just like, huh, alright then. From here, Hikaru tries to have his own arc that I don't care about, since Iki has a much better one to talk about. Genta tells Iki to dissolve the contract, but Iki feels like that's not fair to Vice. Even stranger news, Giff is starting to awaken. Vail is running out of Vice stamps, and Karizaki is also feeling worse. Genta understands the circumstances and asks George to make a driver so Genta can settle things with Vail. Iki tells Sakura that Genta is getting ready to make Vail disappear for good, which has a lot of complications, such as making himself disappear in the process. Mama Igarashi tells the family not to worry. Genta may not be a Kamen Rider, but he's transformed 3 times. Just in time for George to bring them a new driver. Iki and Sakura deliver the driver, when Genta explains that defeating Vail might bring back Daiji on the right path. The next day, Genta and Vail meet. Sakura, Iki, Karizaki, Daiji, and Akaishi stand aside for only a moment, then fight. Genta takes this as a sign of how strong his family is. Vail does not care for his words, and transforms into Crimson Vail. George is upset that Karizaki made such a device, but Karizaki says this fight is about them as much as each other. Genta transforms into Kamen Rider Deathstream. The fight between Genta and Vail starts with a strong rock song at first, but it turns into My Dream, a soft ballad for the family. Everything with the Igarashi started with Genta, or rather, Junpei, and the sins of the father were passed down to another generation, at least in the eyes of this demon, Genta's demon. Vail is nearly defeated, when Genta forces Vail into Karizaki's new Vice stamp, and stamping himself with it. Genta tells Vail to rest with him, and Vail is forgiven. Alongside that, Karizaki's time is up, and he tells George that he did a good job. Genta tells Daiji that a good man is one that can forgive himself. With barely any time to rest, Director Akaishi attacks the city. Our riders line up to transform. Hiromi confronts Daiji in the middle of the fight. Daiji is called Gift's successor, and it appears he's already made up his mind. Daiji steps up to Akaishi and shoots him point blank. But Vice is absorbed into Gift's void. Orteca has been floating in the void this whole time apparently. Daiji begins to go off the deep end, when Hiromi arrives to assure him that it's okay to make mistakes. Daiji sheds a tear, and calls out for Kagero. It turns out Kagero has been hiding inside a Vice stamp until Daiji realized he needed him. From now on, they'll fight together. Okay then. Then GIF is defeated, and Team Revice celebrate that they've defeated GIF once and for all. Meanwhile, George receives the worst news he could, ending the Igarashi Arc.
Dear Gaga.
We start with Iki having a tough time deciding what to use, Worcestershire or soy sauce on his eggs. This, somehow, reminds Vice of Hiromi. Coincidentally, Daiji says that Hiromi has been found. Hiromi has gone home to Gaga, his mom, and this is Dear Gaga. It's 2 episodes focusing on Hiromi's time at home after being blown off a cliff. If there's 2 things you've heard about Revice, Dear Gaga is probably one of them, since it's very well beloved. If you hear the premise of Hiromi going back home to his mom, you'd probably imagine a cozy story, along with growth for Hiromi's return in the main show. And we do get that. Hiromi's story with Gaga is comforting, and the ending can make a grown man cry. So what do I have to bitch about this time? Oh my gosh. So, Iki and friends have roles in this too, as they have a considerable amount of screen time finding Hiromi and convincing him to come back. I just think it would have been better if this was more like 99% Hiromi and we didn't have Daiji finding him almost immediately. Even more than that, Dear Gaga's continuity is very weird. Page 1 of Dear Gaga takes place after episode 21 of the main show, and page 2 is after 29 but leads into 35. So, in theory, if you want to watch Revice in chronological or even release order, then you'd have Dear Gaga thrown in at seemingly random moments. Which brings me to my main point, this should have been in Revice proper. Like, there's enough here to just make them full episodes instead of this optional side thing. Well, if you want to watch Dear Gaga, and I highly suggest you do, then I'd wait before episode 35 and watch this 2-parter together. Dear Gaga is good, it's just another weird part of Revice.
Girls Remix.
Our next project starts with the familiar face fighting a monster, so another hero arrives. Meanwhile, Hana receives a letter from someone who says is her sister, asking to meet up. Sakura tells Hana to meet with her actual family. Suddenly, the bathhouse is filled with cameos: Akiko, Izu, Papi, and Reka. This begins Kamen Rider John and Aguilera with Girls Remix. Fans have been asking for years for a show focused on women in Kamen Rider. Well, Toei listened. They sure did. Originally, Girls Remix was going to be in a much smaller scale and aimed towards an older audience, but with the help of Koichi Sakamoto, more cameos were brought in. How do I start with this? Well, I guess I could start with, I'm pretty open about wanting to see a main woman writer, and I do like to see a bit of diversity. Not that it's 100% needed, it's just nice to see something a little different, especially when it's this good. Oh yeah, Girls Remix is really, really good. Does it fill the void of not having a female main writer? Heck no, but it's pretty close. Our women writers get together because Akiko is on a case, where she references how Iki helped out Akiko's husband to Ryu. The mystery is canon? Anyway, the rest of the team, officially calling themselves Girls Remix, fight Black Satan from Kamen Rider Stronger. And of course, they also have their own evil version of Electrowave Human Tackle called Black Tackle. I'm gonna say this in the most complimentary way I can. Girls Remix reminds me a lot of Marvel's Avengers. Non-stop action, characters with great interactions, just getting even half of these together is amazing. But we do have another plot thread with Hana finding her quote-unquote actual family. Hearing that makes Hana feel hopeless, so she gets a new form as she falls into despair. So Hana and Sakura make up in the void, naked for some reason, and the fighting continues, now with new faces. This is so cool in every way I can think of. Like, Kanon from Kamen Rider Ghost is here, and she does have her own suit, but they joke about how her brother doesn't want her to transform. The real reason is because the Kanon suit was repurposed into Aguilera's, but like, I wasn't expecting a throwaway line to explain it either. There are tons of little interactions like this. Sabo from Build appears, and Akiko kind of recognizes her because her actress was in the Kamen Rider Axel movie. By the way, look up Black Tackle's actress and you'll be going down a rabbit hole. Tsukuyomi is also here with her full transformation. The girls at the end have this cool photo shoot. Man, this could go so wrong, but thankfully, it's incredible. Girls Remix is a very high point in Revice for me. But slightly meta bad news here, this is the only time I'll extensively talk about Girls Remix and Legacy of Kamen Rider, as I'd prefer to make it its own series, just like I am with Outsiders. But thankfully I can separate Girls Remix, unlike the whole Outsiders, which is like a whole own series, but anyway, I just had to talk about this for now. It's that good.
Hyper Battle Video 2.
While doing, something, a soft-spoken George Katazaki from another world arrives, looking for someone with secondary spirit. A Deadmans will be here in 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 22 seconds, and it can only be defeated by a secondary rider. That's a lot of twos. This is our second Hyper Battle video, Kamen Rider number 2. Why isn't Vice the secondary? Cause Revice is the 2-in-1 rider. Vice counts as the main rider. This is the fun conversation we have for the special. Ultimately, Iki accepts being a secondary and transforms with the second most popular dinosaur Vice stamp. And that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything to complain about here. There's at least nothing offensive like in the first HPV. I think the best joke is at the end, but I won't spoil it in case you want to watch. Though I will say I hope we don't start getting arguments on what a quaternary rider is.
Battle Familia.
3,000 years ago in modern ancient Japan America, Akaishi and another man form a contract with GIF. Then in the modern day, Mama and Papa Igarashi are going on vacation. But the plane is hijacked by Ninja Black, so Phoenix gives the Igarashi siblings new outfits to take down Ultraman Powered. This is Revice, Battle Familia. Yeah, thanks, Vice. The main villain is named Azuma.
Game on.
With Gif's powers, Azuma unleashes the demons within the siblings. After Gif was defeated, Azuma's starting to deteriorate, so he needs the Igarashi's DNA, which is a pretty neat way to tie him into the story. Meanwhile, George asks Orteca for help, almost Hannibal Lecter style. I guess that's the gist of it. I don't have much to say about the movie. Well, now that I reread my script, yes I do. But it's what you'd come to expect from a Kamen Rider summer movie. Fun action, alright story, plus this is another Sakamoto directed project, so you know it's gonna have some cool shots. Let's also not forget the movie exclusive form, which is created using the power of what the heck is that?
50K!
That's what I'm saying. I do have a very big complaint, and it's one I've seen a lot. The B plot is so boring. The guy who takes a family picture in the beginning is an actual character for the movie named Nozomu. He's basically the civilian of the week, but wants revenge after Azuma basically ruined his life. There's also a pregnant lady C subplot, and this weird guy who works for Azuma. Like, none of this needed to be here, man. This movie's story is already stretched pretty thin. I get it. I just don't care for it. The even weirder part is that all of this does kind of matter to an extent. For one, Nozomu is a Kamen Rider. The weird guy is George's inner demon. And the Deadmans return from George's quickie with Orteca. It's also really funny that Tamaki happens to carry the original clothes with him at all times apparently. Oh, and Tamaki actually transforms. Again, this is all cool to an extent, but it doesn't impact that much. And again, that's just what comes with the territory of Kamen Rider movies. It's a shame that these stories aren't more fleshed out in the actual show, cause Azuma becomes an incredible villain with a great backstory. He was there for GIF, he should have some kind of presence in Revice. If not that, then whatever the hell that thing was with Mama Igarashi, I'm never gonna get over that. Honestly, aside from Azuma's actor completing the big 3-actor checklist, the biggest highlight comes from a certain star of the stars coming in for the rescue. I feel like maybe this kind of topic is better suited for a standalone video where I talk about how cool Kamen Rider movies are. They just don't matter. Anyway, Battle Familia was alright. That final fight is really cool though.
Birth of Chimera.
Hey guys, Remember when I said this story would have been fine in the main Revice show? Well, we get a special instead, which also would work for the main Revice show. Birth of Chimera. Is that Seiji Takaiwa? This is a bit of an odd thing. It's a 25-minute special that basically sets up the movie by introducing Azuma, George's demon Sheik, and Nozomu. I'm honestly more impressed of how much this special is original footage. Like, it could have been part of a director's cut for the whole movie or something. Although, I don't recommend it unless for some reason you wanted to know more about Nozomu specifically. It's very skippable. I just don't think there's much here worth watching for. If Battle Familia doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, this matters even less. Weirdly enough, I don't regret watching it. I just don't think I can generally recommend Birth of Chimera.
The Decisive Battle Arc.
The Decisive Battle Arc begins with Orteca being snarky. Back at the bathhouse, Iki asks himself if sealing away Gif was the right move, especially when Gif's influence still lingers and Giftarians are attacking the city. After a long day of fighting, Vice seems to be possessed by something. Iki sees that Vice, turned into an Ultraman reference, the Igarashi siblings start to fall one by one when Vice is taken over. This was simply a warning that the end is near. But who cares about that? I certainly do. Since we don't have many episodes left, development has to go lightning fast, and Sakura gains a new power-up as well. Man, this suit is generally really good, but this story was only a single episode, and even then only lasted a few minutes. Okay. Alright, moving on. One Igarashi lineup later, and Gold Gif is defeated again. Except, something glows in the sky, as George says he no longer needs demons, and nearly completes a new driver. Hi Vice. Apparently the world is at peace now, again, until Iki hurries to a scene that he was called for, when George says he's created the ultimate rider system, so there's no need for riders. Vice tells Iki to stay back, because transforming will cause Iki to lose more memories. Of course, Vice gets obliterated and yeah, I get it. Oh brother, it feels like we've been through this a lot. Revice loses a fight, they regroup with the siblings, say they're not gonna give up. Vice tells a dumb joke. Yeah, I know it's a common trope, a common storytelling template, especially in Kamen Rider, but man, it's so noticeable here. I'm getting annoyed by the constant recycling of each arc. And not even whole arcs. These are like the episodic arcs. On top of that, it feels like Iki's lost memories aren't even that important. What are we building up to? He disappears from pictures and maybe forgets a family trip. It's just so boring. And we only have 3 episodes left? If we don't get a powerful scene within this episode, then I...
すみません。お客さん、銭湯は15時からなんですよ。まさか。
Hiromi might know what's going on with George. While yes, George wants to take other rider systems, George may not just want to let go of his dad. Team Revice stand before George and transform. Iki had a moment with his family earlier to remember the good times. He knows he'll lose his memories, while George gets to keep them. That's why Iki will surpass George with Ultimate Revice, the power that both George and Karizaki created. Revice Rider kicks the daddy issues out of George. Hiromi steps in to show George that Karizaki did love him. He saved all of George's drawings, and with them, created powers that will save the world.
Good job, Georgie.
Sakura and Daiji smile at the nosiest man in Japan, but that smile fades as Iki asks.
この人たち誰?
Vice tries to give Iki a nice housewarming day, when later that night, Vice promises to give Iki a happy life. After all, Iki and Vice are partners, right?
いや、家族だ。
The next day, Vice starts going on a rampage, seemingly defeating all the riders, until it's left between Vice and Iki. Hiromi, George, Tamaki, Papa Igarashi, Mama Igarashi, Mr. Boo, Lovekov, Sakura, Hana, and Daiji can only watch on, hoping that Vice wins the battle to terminate the contract and return Iki's memories.
Vice, 家族だから。
Vice says that their connection was make-believe, but Iki says it wasn't fake to him.
それじゃダメなんだよ。
Iki notices that the rest of his family have been watching, and realizes Vice set all this up to return his memories. Iki understands, and readies for the final battle.
この変身は最後の思い出だ。
The two become Revice for the last time, seeing their memories come to life. We see that Vice didn't just invite his family, but also the people that Revice helped out. That's right. These aren't just background actors. They were actually the civilians of the week, all brought back for Iki. The battle is a little silly, yes, but everyone cheers them on. Memories of Vice start to disappear. Iki and Vice have fun with their battle, using all the Vice stamps they can, until Vice starts to disappear.
家族だから。Vice. A few months later, Iki finds a rubber duck that, as he says, is kinda ugly. But Daiji says it's the home's guardian. Daiji, Hiromi, Tamaki, and Hana turn Phoenix into Bluebird, a new organization to help people. Sakura and Hikaru are living a normal life, with Lovekov too. Sakura's even looking into medical school. Mama Igarashi starts a YouTube channel, with the help of Genta. George says hi to Orteca, who's in prison. LOL. Hiromi reminds George to visit Karizaki's grave. Iki gets back into soccer with that one famous voice actor. Iki is then noticed by a pro player, offering him a chance to achieve his dream. Later that night during dinner, Iki enjoys his food in a way that reminds his family of a certain demon. In the after credits, Iki enjoys another wonderful day when he notices a weird box. Some egotistical guy grabs it, saying it's this area's prize, and is getting ready for the next mission.
Review.
With every era of Kamen Rider, there come certain seasons I dread covering. Super 1, Decade, Ghost, and with Reiwa, it was Revice. Yeah, more than Gotchard. I know what I want to say about Gotchard, but with Revice, yeah... It's very conflicting, and hopefully I can explain well enough here. Revice, much like 01 and Saber, was facing an uphill battle with the pandemic at the start. However, Revice still delivered an incredible story. I already mentioned how much I enjoyed the first 16 episodes. These are reactive characters that stood out on their own, so playing off a civilian of the week was a great way to tell a somewhat episodic story. Iki is known to be the nosiest guy in Japan. It's a common phrase that makes so much sense because of how often he throws himself into situations to help others. It feels really natural how he calls himself that by showing and telling. I'm impressed by how, I can believe Iki sticks his nose in other people's business, because that's just the kind of guy he is. He shows he's fired up by moving his fingers, another quirk that also feels natural to his character. But that's just one half of it, as the other half was the actual civilian of the week, and those are pretty good too. The first civilian of the week is this golfer who got upset that his caddy gave him advice, then fires him. Of course, that would make anyone angry, so the caddy accepts a contract with a demon. The caddy is defeated, but Vice encourages the other golfer to become a demon too, and he does. Not only is Iki answering a call to stop a monster, but Vice further pushes that conflict as an inner demon would. Thematically, fitting into the other side of the plot in that episode where Iki doesn't feel right fighting for Phoenix. It starts to create a rift between the brothers Daiji and Iki. One wants to be heroic, the other wants to fight himself. This narrative continues to be pushed to a boiling point when Daiji manifests Kagero. His inner jealousy of his brother manifested into a voice telling you that you'll never be enough, which parallels into the younger sister Sakura, but combining both points from her brothers. She has that heroic spirit and says she's strong, but she doesn't show that strength.
The core of these three are so integral to the story and characters that they alone would be enough for the story itself. But of course, there's much more. All of this could so easily go wrong, be too bloated, not have enough time for our main characters. But surprisingly, it all works. The civilians of the week, Phoenix, the Igarashi family, and the Deadmans all have an important role to play in the story about growing up and accepting yourself. In fact, I'd say that each part is so important that getting rid of just one would feel lopsided. It feels like there were enough ideas that all of this could work for 50 episodes with escalation for each arc, which is where we start having issues. The defeat of the Deadmans feels way too early, and personally, I don't think it was necessary at all. They should have been the main villains for all of the show, but hey, I think I can see where this is going. It is interesting to see Julio and Aguilera fall into despair, joining what they believe to be the right path. Their stories fit into the themes of Revice, fighting with yourself, feeling lost in life, so accepting another life so quickly, well, it is interesting. There can be a whole essay on Aguilera's path into the cult life, realizing that even when doing everything supposedly right, it's still not enough. Their growth by taking steps back into their real human selves is great storytelling, and with Tamaki, didn't really last long. Hana is great as she is, especially when paired with Sakura, but Tamaki, well, he's there. Personally, I don't think Orteca is good enough a character to stand on his own as a villain, both figuratively and literally. He worked much better in a team, but alone, his motivation feels weak and extremely boring. But it's okay to be weak, as long as you're able to prop yourself up. Orteca doesn't. He starts to feel like an afterthought, which becomes justified once we see he's been chilling in a bubble for a while. We get a new addition with Weekend. They sound fine in theory. A counter-organization who suspected Phoenix of being some evil ploy. It was not necessary. The cast becomes bigger, and some characters aren't given enough time to grow. In some cases, that's alright, since it's not like every character needs an arc anyway. Much like Julio, these characters do have stories to tell, and then hang around once they're done. Now there's lots of empty space for more stories, but our main plot points don't fill those spaces enough. This is just me. It feels as though the complexity of the first arc gets simplified the further we go. Unfortunately, that's my biggest critique for the rest of Revice. The plot feels thin, too much empty space, and worst of all, what we actually get is stuff that I just can't bring myself to care about. Hikaru starts losing his fake Weekend family, and then he becomes over demons. I don't know these people. Sure, it's sad at its surface level, but as you can tell, I made 2 jokes about forgetting what Hikaru's family name is, and I still don't know who they are. Who are these people? I know, long arguments can and have been made about Hikaru's story, how it's important to the characters. Maybe Hikaru is boring on purpose to be thematic to cardboard. Sure, I'll listen to a multi-hour video about all these reasons. In fact, I read a whole thread about it. And I understand. I get what it's going for. I know the themes of Hikaru and the human feelings and human spirit that go along with the whole thematics of Revice. I get it. I still think Hikaru, Weekend, Orteca, Evil Phoenix, and everything else are just so boring. I get what Daiji's story is doing. I did mention how well he fits into the core trio, but like everything else, his part starts to dwindle and it feels like the show doesn't know what to do with him anymore. Daiji learns to accept himself, Kaguro and all. He accepts it, and then becomes a bit more boring. He starts to side with director Akaishi, then Daiji gets Kaguro back. It's not interesting to me. Just like with Hikaru, it's fine on a surface level, I guess. The execution just is not enough for me. And I promise you, I do not need jingling keys in my face to keep me entertained. That's why it was important for me to repeat over and over and over how much I loved the first arc of Revice. Because it was interesting. It did have everything I want. It did have characters and growth. And sure, the rest of it has that too, I guess. I just didn't have a fun time watching it. what helps me get through Revice is that I see most of it collectively as side plot to fill the time. It's not good, but I get it. Oh, yeah, there it is. I said it. I think Kamen Rider Revice is bad, actually. Normally, the worst I have to say about a show is that it can be boring. Here, I think Revice is more than just boring, it's also bad. It's not bad in the way that it doesn't fit what I want in a Kamen Rider story. I think it's bad in the way it tells that story. However, the conflicting part is that Revice has 3 things that are among my favorite parts of Kamen Rider ever told. For one, Sakura is a great character. I probably don't have to explain that. You know she's a great character. I know she's a great character. I don't have to go that deep into the analyzation, do I? For 2, Iki is one of the greatest writer protagonists ever. Maybe you could see that through the recap. And for 3, Revice's ending is my second favorite ending to a writer show, right behind Kamen Rider Blade. I can find the good and the bad, and yeah, I think Revice is kinda bad, but I'll never forget the memories of watching it with my friends, cheering when we saw GIFs and memes come to life in the show. I'll always love the main trio. Its ending showed me the beauty in acceptance. It's okay to love yourself. And truly, I really want to thank my friend Laura, the #1 Revice and Iki enjoyer, along with my other friend, Hobie. These two are so gosh darn positive about Revice, it hurts. In a good way. I'd probably stay cynical about the show without them, and for that, I want to thank them. Thank you to my friends who watched Revice with me, and thank you to my editors for helping me get this video out. I may not like Revice, and probably never will, but it gave me memories I'll never forget.
Final stage.
Welcome to Revice Final Stage, where George is busy looking for a way to return Iki's memories of Vice.
Got them!
Then suddenly, Iki and Vice are together again. Turns out it was just a flashback, as George is interrupted by Wakiabashi's brother, who has his own demon. Okay, I really like this story, and it's all in the acting. I don't know if George's actor is being bored or actually playing the part, but he sounds really melancholic here. That scientist who's trying to do everything he can for his friend. We get more flashback sequences with more of the main cast, and they do a lot to their characters. These flashbacks are parallel to George's A-plot, fighting the inner demon, and it's done surprisingly well. Like, no joke, this might be my favorite writer's stage show, purely for the story. There's a point near the 3rd act where Daiji steps into Iki's memories, telling him to help fight the demon, but Iki says he doesn't want to forget Vice. The piano music plays as Iki hesitates to say goodbye. Then Vice is left alone with Smoke on the stage. It's a great moment, all leading up to the stage show exclusive form, Revice Shin, and it looks incredible. Man, all the work done here is so good. Those moments in the story, the real actors popping in and out of multiple sequences instead of just the end. The Revice remixes are done on stage, both on a screen and practically. There's way more work here than I expected. Like, I'm honestly super impressed by it all. I don't think this should be a full-on movie either, as there's just a certain vibe that goes with stage shows. Guys, I highly recommend Revice Final Stage. It's easily one of the best.
Forward.
We begin with Daiji on a rescue mission to save Hiromi and kidnap children from an organization named Alicorn, and oh, bro, isn't this where One Shot of the Dead was filmed? Oh, highly recommend that movie. Anyway, this is Revice Forward, live, and evil, and demons. They're gonna run out of V-Cinema names eventually. Do you like Civilian with a Weak type movies? I can't hear you over the collective no being heard around the world. Well, that's good, cause we got this movie about Hiromi taking care of one of the kidnapped kids. It's definitely not what I was expecting from a future Revice movie. The world building is at least pretty neat. Alicorn is made up of superpowered humans, so George wants to know how they were created. Speaking of which, George and Daiji lead the Bluebird organization, and Hana has her own detective agency. If you look at the movie more like a semi-epilogue, then it's cool to see what their characters are now, but as a story, I stopped caring the moment I heard the premise. The overall mysteries are pretty interesting, though it does take a bit of time to tie everything together. It's a great payoff. Really, the only thing that stood out here for me was seeing Hiromi's inner demon being a major plot point. But the twist with him and Alicorn kinda sucks. A couple of Ultraman actors also play the villains. That's neat. At least we have the movie exclusive forms. Oh god, that looks horrendous. And I'm not just talking about weird CGI Kagero. Hiromi's is much cooler. Anything is cool with a cape. Yeah, that's a movie. I don't recommend Revice forward. Even if you want more Revice, it's whatever.
Juuga vs. Orteca.
Bro, how's there still more Revice content? We start with George's morning routine, singing George Karizaki's writer system, then looking at his expensive toys, drinking protein, and practicing his henshin poses. In other words, the typical Marcosatsu morning routine, when suddenly, Orteca escapes prison. And yeah, that's more or less Juuga versus Orteca. We get another Drive cameo, the mystery continues to be mysteriously canon, Hiromi gets drunk, and Orteca gets a Demon's Driver. It's a fun two-parter. I really like the Kamen Rider Orteca suit, even if it looks a little cheap. Cool. Yeah. Can you tell I wanted to rush through everything? That's Revice, everyone. Whoopee. To those of you watching in the future, I was working on Legacy of Revice before uploading Legacy of Saber. For one, I wanted to have a little more time on the Saber video. But for an even bigger reason, I started to feel more connected to the family theme. And you might know where this is going. I'm having a little girl. Her name is Lucy. With all that being said, here comes the highlight as we enter the Desire Grand Prix with Kamen Rider Geats.
So, why do you like Vice?
He's kawaii.